Yo, dog, Kenny Boucher here, next level painting, hitting you up on the literal best of all days, coming to you from the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California. We're doing it again with an icy armor tutorial, focusing on that edge highlighting. Now, if you want to know how we got those transitions popping before we did any of this edge highlighting, you're definitely going to have to catch up on Patreon, our crowdfunding page, or catch us on Twitch. Now let's jump into the edge highlighting techniques I'm deploying on this model. What you're observing is very simple. We're using the flat edge of the brush, not the very tip, but the flat edge, and we are dragging it along those edges, those 90-degree angles, or less or more. I mean, it could be like 20-degree angles, who knows? But what you're trying to do is minimize how much drawing you have to do, aka freehand. Anytime you have to use the tip of your brush to draw a perfectly straight line, you're basically freehanding. We are now tracing. That's the technique we call this. So we're just trying to find the angle, move the model to be more of a horizontal plane, the best you can do. See how I'm bracing my pinky anywhere I can, bracing my hands together, creating a stable platform. Try to avoid a windshield wiper motion, and you will have a good day when it comes to getting these straight lines. Line shape is a big deal, okay? Like, it's not enough just to get those lines into position, but you want to maintain a good shape to those lines. That's going to come from light brush pressure. Very minimal brush pressure. Now here you're watching the other technique. I am basically freehanding some scratches in. Even though they're three-dimensionally embedded in the model, I'm using the very sharp tip of my brush because there's no angle to really catch with the side of my brush. And you'll notice I'm dragging it to my chest now. I will now rotate the model and go completely opposite to what we were doing before. I like to drag it to my heart when I'm doing anything like this, anything I can't catch the edge on. Right? So for all intents and purposes, when you have to draw a skinny line, it's freehand. When we're using the flat of our brush, I call it tracing. Just to re-illustrate what we just did, okay? That's tracing. We're using the flat of our brush. We're bracing it up against that edge, and we are just dragging that brush along the edge, and that edge is gonna keep us on track, and we're just literally moving the brush with almost no brush pressure, and the shape of the model is doing the lines. Now, I do recommend keeping your paints thin in case any lines get kind of fat on you. They will blend in and you'll be just fine, because always we're going to do more than one highlight step. You will notice my pinky keeps finding purchase where it can to stay stable. You need to find that power, that stability. It basically comes from having your arms on the table and interlocking fingers when possible. Here now we are drawing a line. You saw how we changed the angle. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're trying to drag it to our chest as we carve in the under highlights to these scratches to give them that three-dimensional pop. Now I will cheat and I will go against what I say sometimes. It's one of those situations, do as I say, don't do as I do. I've been doing this for years, so I can make a windshield wiper motion and know that usually it's going to work out just fine. But usually if you go right from a flat edge trace to a drawn highlight and you don't move the model over, you're going to smear the paint and get an undesirable line shape. So try to take the second needed to change the shape of the line by maneuvering the model into the correct position. Here we go. Popping those highlights. Same deal down here. There's more armor around his nut curtain. Same thing, you see, we got that trace. We're gonna shift the model over. We're gonna trace the outer line now by just using light brush pressure and just dragging it along, letting that hard edge do all the hard work. Too easy. See, take a second to find the right angle. I'm using my pinky to brace on his leg. Light brush pressure, hitting that curve right there. Same deal, and now we're shifting right into a, not a trace, but a freehand style highlight straight to my chest. Now we're gonna have to chest this one in because we can't quite get purchase with the tracing technique, the flat of our brush. Same deal right here, tracing, flat of our brush, flat of our brush. You see how easy that is? Just find all the little areas, move the model, take that second, brace the pinky. Boom, boom, look at that, beautiful. You can sneak in right here, same deal, move the model. Just keep that trace going. Like I said, you want to avoid the windshield wiper motion. Nice straight lines, here we go, pow, trace, trace. It's actually pretty easy once you understand how it works. Just a little bit of practice. I use a small little synthetic brush for some of these techniques. It doesn't hold a lot of moisture, which is kind of what I want. I want the paint to be a little thin, but I don't want it to, you know, basically drain a bunch of moisture onto the model. I want those lines to be crisp, and that's going to be basically slightly thicker paint. Look, now I'm going to grab a little white and show you a little bit of what I like to do to make this shit pop. We're going to go over all those edges we just did, find the sharpest, craziest little spots, and we're going to add that same blue we were just using. It doesn't matter what colors we're using. It's irrelevant. Know that now there's a little bit of white in the mix, and we're just going to trace them, move real quick, give ourselves a little bit of that pop. And this is also kind of a twofer. Not only am I explaining my edge highlight technique, I'm also showing you a ghetto non-metal metallic effect, where we used the airbrush to set up a nice aggressive transition. We actually used a wash, and then we're coming in with some aggressive highlighting, getting those plakow, those plakings, and it looks like metal. Now, like I said, if you guys want to get caught up on how we deployed the airbrush technique on this model, it's in the Patreon archives right now, but you can always catch that type of stuff live on Twitch twice a week, Tuesday and Friday. Boom, look at that shoe. That's the cleanest shoe ever. Now, these are tricky highlights right here. See, this is straight to our chest. That's a freehand line. There's nothing really to brace against. We can't carve it in. That channel's too shallow. But we got a nice crisp line. Same thing, we're gonna add some of that white to his belt buckle, his championship belt right here. Pow, 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 pow. Make that shit look shiny. By the way, this is a GT Studios creation right here. This is one of my favorite new miniature companies on the market, making that hot new tech. Check the links in the description. Help these guys out. They have the best orks in the business. So guys, once we get all these little edges popped in, looking their absolute freshest, that's when you get to start seeing the model come together and you know where you want to go with the skin tones. I like to get everything sort of base coated, then start to edge them out as we go. Man, that dude is icy. I love this model. I've been waiting to paint this orc pit for years. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. But hey, real quick guys, we have a new tier over on Patreon. If you've ever wanted to vote on the content of these videos, now we have that available for you. Just simply move your $6 pledge up to $10, or if you're already supporting me at over $10 right now all on your own, you don't have to do anything. Just sit back and vote. Play on, players.